It all started when it came, my $450,000 baby, my Lamborghini Aventador. Sleek, loud, a monster on wheels that I had saved for years to buy. The day I pulled it into the neighborhood, I was grinning ear to ear, thinking this was going to be my victory lap after all the sweat and grind I had put in. But little did I know, this shining piece of machinery was about to cause me the biggest headache of my life. And it wasn't because of the car, it was because of Karen, the HOA president, and her hired goon she proudly called the HOA cop. His name was Chad. And the very first time he laid eyes on me driving that car, I knew something was off. He didn't look impressed. He didn't even look curious. No, his eyes screamed pure jealousy, like he'd just seen his ex marry a millionaire. I didn't take him too seriously at first, but I was about to find out just how deep his bitterness ran. Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch HOA drama. The first run-in was harmless enough. He strutted around the block in his shiny vest, badge clipped like he had been recruited straight from a cereal box. Whenever I parked my Aventador, I could feel his stare burning into me. It was awkward, like having a neighbor's dog bark at you for simply existing. He pretended to check violation lists on his clipboard, but I knew he was just looking for an excuse to mess with me. Karen stood behind him more than once, smirking as if she had hired herself a private hitman to enforce lawn heights and mailbox paint colors. At night, I'd catch Chad slowly cruising past my driveway, headlights off, like some kind of suburban stalker. It was clear this wasn't about rules, this was personal. Before we dive in deeply, let us know in the comments where you're watching this story from. It was almost a month after I bought the car that Chad finally decided to make his move. He strolled up to me with that smug grin plastered across his face, chest puffed out like he'd just been promoted to sheriff of the cul-de-sac. He opened with, "You might want to consider changing your car. The HOA is trying to manage the carbon footprint." I nearly laughed in his face. This man drove a gas-guzzling SUV that backfired like a dying lawnmower. Yet somehow my Lamborghini was the environmental crisis. The hypocrisy was staggering. I asked him flat out why I was the target, and his tone dropped from fake friendly to threatening real fast. "I'm giving you 3 weeks. Sell it off and get an EV. If not, things could get drastic." He let that hang in the air before strutting away like he'd just handed down a Supreme Court ruling. I was furious. My fists tightened, and I had half a mind to end this man's HOA career right there on the sidewalk. But I stopped myself. Chad wanted a reaction. He wanted me to swing, to give him leverage. Instead, I bit my tongue and watched him walk away, though the thought of decking him lingered heavy in my mind. A few days later, I was wrapping up a workout at the HOA gym. Sweat wet dripping, towel around my neck, I was ready to head home when I spotted him leaning on my car in the parking lot. My Aventador. He was standing there like he owned it, sunglasses on, arms folded. I walked up and told him to move, and his smug smile only widened. "You're parked at the HOA VIP spot," he said, tapping the hood like he was checking livestock at an auction. My patience thinned. "That's not a thing," I snapped. But Chad wasn't backing off. He leaned in close, lowering his voice. "Your 3 week window is almost up. Don't make me enforce the rules, and don't ever park here again, or things will get messy." I stood there, jaw clenched, every muscle in my body itching to explode, but I held back. He was baiting me, and I knew it. Still, his words echoed in my head long after I drove home. Something was coming. Chad was itching for a showdown, and with Karen egging him on, I knew the storm was closer than ever. The following week, I was back in the gym, sticking to my routine. Everything felt normal until I heard a thunderous bang that rattled the glass walls. My heart stopped. I rushed to the window, and what I saw almost dropped me to my knees. My Lamborghini Aventador, my pride and joy, was being mauled by a bulldozer. The hood crumpled like paper, glass shattering across the lot as if someone had set off a grenade. For a moment, I thought it had to be a nightmare, some sick dream. But it wasn't. It was real. And the man in the bulldozer seat was none other than Chad. I bolted outside, my voice breaking into a scream. "What the hell are you doing?" He didn't even flinch. With a twisted grin, he shouted over the roar of the engine, "This is what you get. I warned you." The sound of metal twisting under the bulldozer's weight stabbed through my chest. Neighbors poured out of their homes, phones raised, recording every second. Some gasped, others laughed nervously, but no one dared step in. I wanted to rip him out of that machine and make him regret ever laying a finger on my car, but my brain screamed at me to hold back. One wrong move and I'd be the one hauled off. So I forced myself to do the hardest thing I've ever done, stay calm. Instead of throwing fists, I pulled out my phone. My hands trembled as I hit record, capturing every second of Chad's enforcement. The bulldozer tore the roof down, crushed the doors, reduced my $450,000 dream into scrap. I shouted again, but Chad only sneered. I tried to warn you. This neighborhood doesn't need your kind of trash. The arrogance dripped from his voice like poison. My blood boiled hotter with every word. I clenched my fists, teeth grinding, the urge to snap him in half almost unbearable. But then clarity hit me. He just handed me the ultimate weapon. His crime, caught in 4K, with an entire audience filming too. I dialed 911, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. Yes, I'd like to report the destruction of private property. Someone's impersonating law enforcement and just bulldozed my Lamborghini. The neighborhood had never seen chaos like this. The sirens cut through the chaos like a final warning bell, and when the real cops rolled up, the bulldozer was still humming, my Lamborghini still lying in ruins like a collapsed monument. Chad stood there with his arms crossed, chest puffed out, acting like he just saved the neighborhood from a terrorist threat instead of destroying someone's dream car. The officers stepped out, and one of them didn't even waste time. Sir, put your hands where I can see them. Chad tried to play the hero. Relax, officers. I'm the HOA enforcement cop. This man's violating HOA carbon policy. His car had to go. He pointed at me like I was the criminal. The officers glanced at each other, then back at him, unimpressed. You're no cop. You're under arrest for impersonating law enforcement. That was the first charge. They cuffed him right there in front of the neighbors, who were recording every second with their phones, commentary flying like we were on live TV. In the following weeks, court was a circus. Chad sat at the defendant's table, his smug face now pale and twitching, as the judge read out his laundry list of crimes: impersonating a police officer, criminal mischief, felony vandalism, destruction of private property, reckless endangerment, unauthorized use of heavy equipment, and civil liability. Each word was another nail in his coffin. I showed the footage, neighbors testified, and even Karen tried to distance herself, claiming she had no idea he'd take it this far. The judge didn't flinch. Chad was sentenced to 3 years in state prison. Not probation, not community service, but cold, hard prison. On top of that, he was ordered to pay me $500,000 in restitution for the car, plus damages. He nearly fainted when the gavel came down. The HOA tried to pretend he acted independently, cutting him off like rotten fruit. Without their backing, he had no way to fight the debt. The last time I saw him before they hauled him away, he tried to shout over the courtroom, I was protecting the community. I was the law. But no one bought it anymore. Neighbors laughed. Karen ducked her head in shame, and I just stood tall, arms folded, watching him dragged out in shackles. He thought he could bulldoze me. Instead, life bulldozed him. The end. Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think Chad got what he deserved? Comment below.